I'm so privileged today to have Sucheta Tai. Should I call you Sucheta Tai?
Yes, of course. Certainly not Sucheta ma'am.
Yeah. So, Sucheta Tai, Dr. Sucheta Parajape is a well-known Vedic researcher, public speaker. And of course, those who are in Vedic literature, study of Indian language, study of Indian heritage, culture, they, of course, know her. She doesn't need any introduction at all. We have been in touch for last 2-3 years. I've been on and off. I've been exchanging notes with her. And then I visited one of her lectures in Matunga, Mumbai, where you spoke extensively on, I think that was on Atharva Veda specifically.
Rigveda and Upanishads.
Rigveda and Upanishads, I remember. And it was a rainy day, tough time for everybody to reach there. But everybody was so glad they attended that lecture, because in that lecture she spoke something which was so deep, so profound, so well nuanced, and most importantly, very, very authentic. And that time itself, I decided that one of these days I'll invite Sucheta Tai on my podcast if she has time, and then we can have an informal discussion. At the same time, I would also like to welcome our friends Vaibhav here, Siddesh here, Mayur, a dear friend of mine, and an Advaitin. Is this the word they use today?
Yeah.
Advaitin, a true Advaitin, a great Shankaracharya follower. And if you are also free to ask the questions if you wish. And we will go through the information she has. Very well nuanced, very authentic, very, I would say, certain aspects that she touches. I haven't heard anybody else touching that. And another thing also I would like to say about such conversations is, of course, these conversations are informative, educational, and all that stuff. But this is mainly for the young kids,
Right.
the youth. Because my observation is today's youth is getting disconnected from our true heritage, our Vedic culture. I mean, I have no problems about globalization, but it has to be East meets West, South meets
True.
North. It's not
Right.
just, getting westernized is not globalization. So, my humble request and invitation to the young kids is to, you have these great books to your bedsides. Like you have How to Become a Millionaire, How to Become Confident, self-help books. But why don't you have the Bhagavad Gita also along with it? Why don't you have Ishavasya Upanishad along with it? Why don't you have Kathopanishad copy also along with it? Anyway, I'm not going to go on my rant. Let's come back to Sucheta Tai. And Sucheta Tai, my first couple of questions are clubbed together. What is Sanatan? Its connection with Vedas and kind of chronology where it all started. There are different versions. The geographical location of Vedic time, Vedic people, and the rivers. I remember you talking very fondly about the rivers during Vedic time. Yeah, you spoke about rivers. Over to you, Sucheta.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on this podcast, which, as you said, is mainly for the young generation. And I'm so glad for that. Because most of the times when I talk or give webinars or whatever, my audience is generally 40 plus, 50 plus. I mean, I feel like I'm only talking to a senior citizen class. But today I will be happy to, whatever I know, to offer it to the young generation. And what you say is very right. There is nothing wrong about being global. But there is something very radically wrong about not being Indian or not being Bharatiya. And that is where I think we completely agree. And your first question was, what is Sanatana? Okay, I'll tell you when I'm a linguist also. So, Tana is a suffix which always shows something to do with time. For example, you know the word Nutana, which is new. We say Praktana, which is Tana, that is in the past that has happened. So, every time you have Sanatana or words like that, it shows you the time. And Sanatana would literally mean that which happened in the long past. Okay? So, by saying Sanatana Dharma or Sanatana Vangmay for that matter, we are not labeling it as any cult or religion or philosophy. We are just telling you what was there long time ago in Bharata. If you don't mind, I would like to use the word Bharata here. And just now you also said one more thing that gave us some timeline. Now, the moment I say Sanatana, you will be surprised. People like Lokmanya Tilak and many other Western scholars have taken the time of Rigveda. We will talk mainly about Rigveda because that is the source. That is the Gangotri of everything that is Indian or Bharatiya today. They have taken the time of Rigveda to 40,000 BC. I mean, we don't go that back. We in the sense general scholastic circle will not agree with that. And what is kind of agreed upon is that Rigveda was composed. That was the first available literature, even today in the world, which has been continued for last 6,000 years. It was composed in 5000 BC. Now you do the maths, 5000 plus 2025. So it becomes almost 7,000. So whatever we will talk about happened or was thought of 7,000 years back. And then you said that what about its geography and all.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't want to go into the controversies of Aryan invasion, whether it happened or not, because for me, the literature is more important, right? And what is written there is the most important thing. And therefore, I would just say that Rigveda has references. You talked about rivers. I really love rivers, even today's rivers. In Rigveda, there is a reference to a river called Kubha, which is Kabul, which is in Afghanistan today. Today's Afghanistan, I would say, right? Or we have references to many other rivers like Sindhu. It is there in Ladakh, but most of it goes to Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
Again, today's Pakistan. That time there were no countries and not these names and nothing of no boundaries, geographical boundaries. So about that, I will just say one thing. What we consider now as the northernmost India, Rigveda was composed at the foothills of Himalayas or more towards Afghanistan, Pakistan. Excuse me, but I'm using these names because though they were not pertinent at that time, the new generation will admire that more.
Those 5 rivers, basically, the area that is comprising of those 5.
That is Punjab.
Yeah.
Pancha Apa. Apa is water. And which are those 5 rivers? I mean, you know them. But in Rigveda, for example, Bias is Vipash. Shutudri is Satluj, today's. Ravi. I mean, you have names of each and every river in Rigveda. There is a big Nadi Sukta, which says, Nadi tame, Ambitame, Devi tame, Saraswati. Now we know that we say Saraswati has disappeared. And I would say Saraswati has disappeared not in the form of river alone. Saraswati as a goddess of knowledge has also disappeared. And it's only the information that the younger generation is after. So all these rivers, there is no reference of Narmada. So these people probably had not gone that south.
I see.
Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri, not Kaveri, Saraswati, all these rivers are there.
Okay. So this brings me to the further questions. The next one would be, when we speak of Vedas, we all have heard about 4 Vedas. And what is the structure? Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharva Veda.
Yeah.
So usually we have heard that these Vedas, the Rigveda was the first one. So if you could tell us more about, these Vedas.
Sure. It was not only the first one. It was, as we say, first and foremost. It was why should I say it was the best? It is still the best of the literature. Just imagine, nowhere else in the world, I'm not bragging about our tradition, but nowhere else in the world there is a literature or anything which is written which had survived for more than 6,000 years. Is there? No.
No.
I mean, there are hieroglyphics. Even Indus Valley script, they have tried to write something, but it is not deciphered. And so we don't know what they have written. But for us, the tradition is unbroken, which is very important. And so we will focus more on Rig Veda. What you mentioned just now, the names of 4 Vedas, what typically we refer to as Vedas is called Samhita.
Yeah.
And Samhita is an edited text. Okay? Where there was floating literature. He knew some suktas. I will explain what suktas are too. He knew some mantras addressed to Usha. You knew some mantras addressed to maybe Ashwino. And all that was brought together, collated, analyzed and edited. Samhita literally means the rightly edited work. Okay? So, Rigved Samhita, Yajurved Samhita, Samaved Samhita and Atharvaved Samhita. Yajurved and Samaveda are entirely liturgical, that is, they are ascribed only to Yajna. And Atharvaveda had some folk literature more than other literature, and therefore you will be surprised. Chanakya in his Arthashastra doesn't mention Atharvaveda. He says Trayi Vidya. Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved. So, they discarded Atharvaveda. Some
Is
people,
it considered a part of Rig Veda only?
No.
But a lot of commonalities are there, a lot of
everybody,
sharing.
whether it is Yajurved, Samaved or Atharvaved, they have borrowed from Rigveda.
Rig Veda, yeah.
I call Rigveda our Gangotri. Literary, socially, politically, scientifically, everything is we have borrowed from Rigveda. And I can give you proofs.
Great.
It is not that it's only a hearsay or something. Anyway, so these are the 4 Samhitas. Now, I told you that Yajurveda and Samaveda are only liturgical, so we need not, I'm not interested, in spite of being a Sanskrit student all my life, I'm not interested in knowing how an Ashwamedha Yajna is performed. I read that only to know the history of religion or the social history during that time. So these two are not pertinent or relevant now, but Rigveda is. And that is what is the significance of Rigveda. Now I would go one, people use the word Vedic literature very loosely. In fact, now people have come up with terms like Vedic math, Vedic way of getting married, and all that just shows ancient math. Rigveda doesn't tell you mathematics. It doesn't teach you mathematics or physics. It's not a textbook in any case. But what Rigveda did has come down to us through various other sources. Okay? So, what was your question? I forget. You asked me something.
No, it was about, mainly we wanted to know about the...
Okay, so I was talking about Atharva Veda, we will talk later. But Yajurveda and Samaveda, I told you that these are mainly dedicated to Yajna. Okay? Now, for Yajna, you have to use mantras from Rigveda. And later on, it always happens that when Jnana Kanda changes to Karma Kanda, people tend to forget Jnana. And they lay more stress on Karma.
That's what happens.
That's what happens even today.
Yeah.
Right? So people didn't know what exactly the meaning of the mantra was. Why should I use it at this point? If I don't do that, what will happen? If I do that, what benefits will I get? And for all that, there needed to be an explanation for the posterity. Mantra is also called a ruk. We know that word, typically called rucha in all Indian languages. That's a plural form. So, rucha is also called Brahma. This Brahma is entirely different from Upanishadic Brahma.
Oh.
We haven't reached that level as yet.
Yeah, that is non-dual.
Yeah,
so
that is something
Nirgun
entirely different and entirely, according to me, very superior also.
Yeah.
So, this Brahma is mantra. Brahmanaha idam brahmanam. Whatever is told about a Brahma, about a mantra, will be called Brahmana. This Brahmana word, please remember and please note that it has nothing to do with any caste system, right? Because this word is neuter. It is Brahmanam. I refer to it as it, right? So this is only a text which refers to the explanation of Brahmanas, and every Veda has its own Brahmana. For example, Rigveda will have Aitareya, Yajurveda will have Shatapatha. They explain their own mantras in the way they are used. For example, Samagana. Samaveda tells you how to sing the samans. They are sung in 7 tunes. Saregama Padani. And in that, they have to tell you which saman is to be sung, how there are notations given. So the Brahmanas become a good, very essential help while chanting Samaveda.
So you're basically talking about how Vedas are basically divided into 2 divisions, so to say. One is the Karma Kand and Gyan Kand. And this Brahman Granthas and Samhita, they come under the first part, the Karma Kand.
I would say Vedas are divided. I would say the first part of Rigveda has everything. Okay? Some people took only Karma Kanda. Even today, whatever we do, some people want to know it. Some people want to just act it or do it. Similarly, some people wanted just to do the yajna. For them, Brahmanas were enough. But then once somebody thought, okay, these Brahmanas tell us, these Granthas tell us that Jyotishtomena Swarga Kamo Yajeta, one who wants to go to Swarga after death, he should perform a Jyotishtomaya. But if my body is burned down to ashes, who will go to Swarga? And then somebody said, maybe there is some spirit. Of course, they knew that there is something much more than mere body. So they called it Atman. And Atman, the verb itself means to breathe. Not only in Sanskrit, but even in German, it means to breathe. Atman. Okay? So they said that is the spirit which leaves the body. So just see, they are still thinking of yajna, but now they don't want karma kanda, no ritual. It's a journey from ritual to spiritual. Okay? And therefore, they started thinking about Atman. Then where does Atman come from? And for this, these people, they were tired with the chaos. So they said, let's go to a forest, Aranya, and start thinking about it. And whatever thoughts they did or whatever discussions they had, all that was compiled in texts called Aranyaka. You must have heard the word Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There are many Upanishads, Aranyakas, but that's the most important one. And after Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, there was Aranyakas, then people, slowly they came away from karma. The ultimate thing everybody wants to achieve, maybe not at your stage, maybe not at younger age, but generally people want dhyana. And I always distinguish between information, knowledge and wisdom. Jnana is wisdom. And for that, when they started thinking about the entire universe, how it was created, how Atman came into being, there must have been some point, how our world was created. At that time, they thought of Brahman also. Actually, even in Atharva Veda, there are some suktas. And of course in Rigveda, like I said, you name it and there is a sukta about it in Rigveda. So now see what happened. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. These 4 texts together are called Vaidika Vangmaya. And you know why Vangmaya? It was not written. You will not believe it. There was no script at that time. It was not written. It was only a oral tradition. And Vak is speech. Vakmaya is that which is transferred only through
oral
speech.
Language. That's why the word they use, Apaurushaya is the word.
Apaurushaya is a word which they used, but that is mainly because this literature, is not man-made in the sense, it is divine. And really, such things happen even in our life on small scale. Sometimes you wonder, how come I thought of that? at the last moment, I mean, something happens and there is a eureka moment. So they all had vision of these texts, especially Rigveda Samhita.
The Rishis.
The Rishi. That's the word. You said it.
Yeah.
Rishi, I would say one thing to all of you. Please never translate these words. Rishi is a Rishi. But in English, they would translate it as seer.
Sage.
The one who sees. Sage is sadhu. But seer,
Seer,
you read a book on Rigveda, English book, and then they invariably use the word seer. But sakshatkara and seeing something is entirely different. They don't stand on the same level at all. So Rishi darshanat, because he had a darshana, sakshatkara of that. And therefore, these are called Rishis.
I see.
Okay, now that I have come to Rishi, can I say something about what is a Sukta also? Because
of course,
I'm going to use these
Yes,
words very often. I told you that there are mantras.
Yeah.
Now, what are mantras? See, these people, they were one with nature. They didn't have environmental science in their syllabus or anything. They didn't need that at all. When they saw the Pancha Mahabhuta, the sun rising every day, the moon coming every 15 days, it goes away, it comes back, they knew the science behind it. So when they saw that, they praised it, which is natural. Even we do that. Oh, thank God it's a sunny day, otherwise it had been so cold, right? They also had Agni. Agni, as you know, sociologically, there are two main discoveries. One is fire, how to create fire, and the second one is wheel, which goes for industrial revolution and all that. These people, agriculture was the most important profession, and when they went out in the morning, the woman would need to cook something, right? They needed light, they needed heat, they needed everything. I mean, imagine the foothills of Himalayas 7,000 years ago. Even staying in Pune, I am from Pune, and we keep saying, oh, 50 years back Pune was so cold. Now we don't need anything, no warm clothing at all. So how much cold it must have been. How to enkindle the fire? So what they did was, whenever there was a forest fire, or whenever, suppose you have some fire, I will take some fire into my house. Now I can't keep that fire running all over my place. So I would build a mound kind of a thing. It is called chiti. In that chiti, I'll keep it so that it stays there. In the morning, at sunrise, and in the evening, when I come back from my work, sunset, I want the fire in full glow, full blaze. Cattle was their godhana, as they call it, their wealth. So they had lots of ajja, which is called ghee or toop, whatever you call it. We will call it ajja. And they would take some ajja and pour into that. They knew that then it will flare up. Now, every time you offer something, you say some nice thing to you. Like you would say, Sucheta, would you like to have some water? So he would say, Agni, I am offering you ajja because you do so much for us. I must do at least this much for you. And you also bring something for us. Give me good sons or whatever they wanted. They asked for that. So this is a dialogue between a Rishi and Agni, which is called a Devata in Rigveda. Whether it is Indra, Agni, Usha, Ashwinau, or Parjanya, that is rain. They would Usha is also, they are not concrete gods, They have no persona as such, but yet they will be called Devata. Please remember, there is no distinction between Deva and Devi. Everybody is Devata in Rigveda. Right?
Yes.
So, when they offer something to the theme of the praise, it is called Devata. So, let me take the very first Sukta of Rigveda. Agni mede purohitam yajnasya devam rutvijam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam. This was composed by one Madhuchandas Vaishwamitra. See, when he says, I am a Vaishwamitra, you know that his lineage is from Vishwamitra. His name is Madhuchandas. And he has actually had a sakshatkar, a vision, so he becomes the Rishi. It is addressed to Agni, so Agni becomes the Devata. Every verse, I shouldn't be using the word verse, but every verse, is a mantra or rucha. Now, if the one who was the editor, his name was Shakala, he collected, say there are 9 ruchas in this, he collected 9 ruchas composed by Vishwamitra to Agni. He would make a poem out of that. Right?
Okay.
That is called Sukta. It is Su-Ukta. Later on we have the words like Su-Bhashita. So Su-Ukta is well said. Never ever translate the word Sukta as a hymn. Okay? I have respect for all the faiths, but Sukta is not hymn. So that is a Sukta. So see, these are very important. You must know the Rishi, you must know the Devata, you must of course know the mantra, and you must also know these 4 things, Devata, Rishi and Chanda. Chanda is the meter.
Yeah, so there's so much knowledge Sucheta Tai has, but today we are going to have discussion only on, fewer subject, because this will go on for 4 hours, 5 hours, it's kind of a marathon talk. And I'll take your permission and say that we are going to have such conversations more, and we'll touch upon various subjects. But today my request is let's discuss couple of suktas, well-known suktas, like Nasadiya Sukta or Purush Sukta. There's a very, very interesting sukta she spoke about called Vivaha Sukta, which really blew me away. It was so casual, informal and so simple.
It is.
Yeah.
It
so
is.
We'll cover suktas, couple of suktas today. And we'll also cover Devatas.
Yeah.
This is so amazing, and people have heard about, we are only Puranic gods we know. But Devatas of Rigved, it's a different league altogether. And the interesting information. So what we'll discuss today is, first we'll discuss 3 suktas, Nasadiya, Purusha Sukta and Vivaha Sukta. Interesting.
Instead of Purusha, I would like to add Aksha Sukta.
Sure, of your choice. And Devatas and role of Rishikas in Rigveda.
Oh,
that is
that's
something
my
we must
favorite subject.
Because
In fact,
having a lady as a guest, who is a scholar on Rigveda, how can we miss contribution of women in Rigveda?
Now, I'm so glad you know about the women Rishis in Rigveda, because people don't even imagine that women were educated in those times, because there was a dark age in India where women were not. But forget about that. Long back in Sanatana times, they all were educated. They knew Sanskrit very well. In Rigveda, there are 1028 suktas, out of which there are some suktas which are composed by women. I'll just tell you the names first. There are 21 such women. Apala, Indrani, Shraddha, Vak, Urvashi,
Lopamudra, Ghosh.
Lopamudra, Ghosha, yeah. So Ghosha, Raumavati also. And all these women composed Sanskrit suktas. Not only that, the society accepted them, and Shakala included them in Rigveda Samhita is a sanction to these women rishis. And I'm using the word sanction not in the sense of American English.
No permission.
No, it's not that. I'm saying
acceptance.
There was more of acceptance. So what is very important, it shows you the level of recognition of a woman in the society. The role she plays and the position she gets, the respect she gets is very important.
True equality.
True equality, absolutely. Now, one more thing. Now that I am talking about the women, I will just tell you one sukta by Indrani, if you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
Only one line I will quote from that. So please remember, Indra was their Senapati. I will come to the deities, Devatas. Senapati in the sense, he was the chief of the army. He was a role model for all the society, right? Because he is the chief. And Indra's mother has written Suktas, composed Suktas, Indra Mataraha. Indra's daughter-in-law has composed Sukta, which is Indra Snusha. They are all included in the Rig Veda. Indrani, who is Indra's consort or wife, you can say, she has composed 3 Suktas which are included in the Rig Veda. So just see what a well-educated family that was. And Indrani says, I like her sense of humor also. She says, like you said, equality. They didn't bother about women empowerment and we want this is our right, and no, they already had everything. So Indrani says, Aham ketu raham murdha aham ugra vivachani. Aham, you know the word. Aham is I am ketu. Ketu is flag. And I am the flag of the house. If there is a Tiranga, I know it is Bharata. So similarly, people know this house by Indrani's name. Aham Ketu, Aham Murda. I am the head of the family. How many women get that freedom to say this today? But Indrani said that. And Aham Murdha, Aham Ugra Vivachani. And I like this part also. I speak a little, not rudely, but I do not accept any injustice. And I think today is the time when women are coming out speaking about injustice done to them. But Indrani speaks of this 6,000 years ago. So just imagine the kind of progress, social progress that these people had done. Right? So this is about the women. And I like Indrani Sukta for this reason, that she says a lot. There was nothing, nobody demanded, kya hai wo? Beti bachao, beti padhao. Right. They didn't need all that.
It was in the DNA.
It was in their DNA, So they didn't need any such movement. They already were educated. Now, your second about now that I'm talking about.
So I was talking about a couple of more Suktas
Vivaha
and
Sukta.
Devatas.
After
that.
Like I said, let me finish about Vivaha Sukta because it is connected with women.
Okay.
Now this Vivaha Sukta from Rig Veda is nothing short of an amazing one. Why amazing one? Because you know what is Vivaha. If there is a Vivaha 6,000 years ago and it is an established organization, just imagine that, what is Vivaha after all? It is a social sanction and legal recognition of a man-woman relationship, right? That is, to be honest, it is only this. People knew it at that time. This was a respect for the woman. Don't you think so? Because nowhere else in the world, we don't even know what happened 6,000 years ago in, let's say, Europe or America or anywhere. But here we had Vivaha, which shows wonderful things, about society and especially about women. And we know now that wherever there is a problem in treatment of a woman, that nation never progresses. We have so many examples around. I don't want to mention any names, but this is true. It tells you all the procedures, not in details, because it is not. It's not a manual for purohitas, It's just a description. But I will tell you a couple of things. When the new bride goes to the husband's house, even in those days they went to husband's house, okay? So when she went there, everybody from the neighborhood would come to see the new bride. Muh dikhai. Ajkal some communities have that. So they would come, and the verse there is so beautiful. Sumangali riyam vadhuhu. You can understand even some words, right? Vedic Sanskrit is not very difficult. Sumangalihi iyam vadhuhu. Imam sameta pashyata, come and see my Sumangali vadhu. Vadhu is actually a daughter-in-law. Okay? So see her and then bless her with Saubhagya. Saubhagya doesn't only mean the husband is alive. Saubhagya is everything that you can ask for, good things. And then one priest tells her that he's talking to the husband. Dashasyam putran adhehi, he said, have 10 sons through your wife. 10 in the sense, even when I was young, people used to bless us like Ashtaputra bhava, which means have a lot of children. That's about it. Dashasyam putra nadhehi, and he tells his wife, the new bride, Patim ekadasham kuru, treat your husband like the 11th one. That is the youngest one, who neither listens to you, you cannot discipline him or whatever. And I like that word. In Marathi, we have a very peculiar word, Shendefar. Shendefar is something which is the most favorite one and most spoilt one most of the times. So this is about the ritual. But now let me tell you about some science and how Vivaha Sukta is related to science, and not only science but cosmology. Now people, when I talk about science in Rigveda, they think, what did they know? They knew nothing. I mean, it was all Galileo and Newton and whatnot. Galileo came in 14th century. Please remember, again and again I repeat, this happens at least 6,000 years back. At least. The first 6 or 7 ruchas of Vivaha Sukta do not talk of a man and a woman. It describes a Vivaha of one Surya and Soma. Soma is the man or the male part, and Soma is moon. Okay? So Someshwara. Why is Shiva called Someshwara? Because he has the crescent of moon on his head. And who is Surya? Can you guess? I'm sure nobody can guess. Even I never imagined they knew this much. Surya, they describe as that ray of... She's supposed to be Surya's Duhita, daughter of sun. She's sun's daughter in the sense it is that ray of the sun which falls on the earth and reflects on the moon. And that is how the moon gets light. So Surya and Soma, they get married. It is not the marriage, it is what is important is their knowledge. Just imagine they knew this. In fact, later text even gave a name to this ray, Sushumna. Later on we have Sushumna Nadi and all those things. So they have named this ray as Sushumna. So this shows you that, and there are many other references, that they had heliocentric idea of the universe. They never thought that Earth was the principal one and everything else went around it. It was Galileo. But today still we think that it was Galilean evolution that taught us so many things about cosmology. Are simple words like Bhugola. What is Bhu? Earth.
Ground.
Gola. We don't even pay attention to what we are talking. And all this comes from Vedic literature. So, Vivaha Sukta I like for these two reasons. It is very important on the social level and at the same time amazing on a scientific level too. And this is not how I say it. You can go and listen to this chant, Vivaha Sukta, on net. And there are, on the background, you will have stars, sun, moon, which means even people accept it today. But we don't know. Why? Because we don't want to go to our knowledge. That is a very sad thing.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
And very unfortunate. And like you rightly pointed out in the introduction, to being westernized is not globalization. It is give and take.
Yeah.
And accept each other's good points and bad
Exactly.
points.
That's the right fusion,
That's
like
the right
everybody,
fusion.
you take the best from every culture, the Western culture. Like a lot of us, we started our journey in philosophy with the Aristotle, Plato, and starting with that, then Schopenhauer,
Yeah,
Nietzsche,
so did
and
we.
then came back. Some of us came back to Indian side
Indian
because
philosophy.
that is the system here. But then when you discover Adi Shankaracharya, then it becomes a completely different level.
Entirely different world.
Yeah.
But this is colonized education, so I don't want to go into politics.
True.
But let me talk about some Devatas now.
That's what I was trying to say is like I believe that we should cover Nasadiya Sukta and Purush Sukta maybe later because it is so vast.
It's so vast.
It is so vast. It
And
won't be
once
able
I start talking about Rigveda, I cannot stop.
I think we should keep one separate episode on Nasadiya or Purusha
I don't mind
Sukta.
that at
Yeah,
all.
that would be better because
But today I would like to speak about Devatas.
Yes,
because
Devatas
that
we
gives
must.
you a good understanding of
and
Rigveda.
let's have in detail like Mitra
sure.
Varun and comparisons and
Exactly.
Indra and Prajapati
See,
and
these
Vishwakarma.
Devatas are very different from what we worship today.
Yeah.
I told you that Agni is the most important Devata for them because that is required in their practical life. What I told you in the sometime back just now, that Agni they enkindled and praised. They said some mantra, put some ajya, and even in the evening they did that. You know what that is? It is the beginning of Agnihotra. So every ritual that we do today has some practical wisdom and reason behind it. Unfortunately, we don't have the vision to see that. But anyway, Agni is the most important deity. Rigveda begins with Agni, and I must say that there are wonderful Agni Suktas, but yet Agni is only one of the Pancha Mahabhuta. Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu, Akash. So he represents Tej. Second comes Usha and Savita.
And Agni incidentally is also a Doot, na? He is like a
that is when they started offering Ahuti, that is offering into Yajna, so that he will take them to...
He will invite other Devatas.
He will invite
also.
other Devatas and he can take them to Indra, Ashwina, Usha, whatever. Now Savitru is also important. Savitru, by the way, is only rising sun. When we say Tat Savituru Varenyam, when do we say that? In the morning. At 12 o'clock, I don't look at the sun and say Tat Savituru Varenyam. Savitru is the impaling. In fact, literally it means the impaler.
So Savitru is a separate Devata in...
Oh yes.
I see.
Oh yes. That's why we have this mantra Savitru. We call it Gayatri because the meter is Gayatri. Actually, it is called Savitri mantra.
I see.
And a person who doesn't do his Upanayana, in other words, the person who doesn't go to Gurukula is called Patita Savitrika. He has fallen away from Savitri mantra, which means he knows nothing. Okay? So, Savitru is I must tell you one more thing. Rigveda is not only philosophy, religion, this, that, science. There is also some fun, For example, in one of the Savitru Suktas, they tell you that the Rishi tells you, Apatye tayavo yatha nakshatrayanti aktubhi. The moment Savitru comes, there are two things which run away. Nakshatra, Rigveda mentions many nakshatras. They knew all the 27 constellations. So the stars and they go away. And Tayu is a thief. Even thieves go away. And you know why I like that? They are normal people. They spoke Sanskrit. They were way superior to us intelligence-wise and philosophy-wise. But they are like you and me. And I somehow feel that connect, that, I am there. Maybe one of my ancestors must have been in Rigveda times, So I feel nice about that. Before Savitru comes Usha. Now, like I said, if you are in the Himalayas and when the dawn comes, it looks so beautiful. Not only because the snow-clad mountains suddenly become bright and all, but you are assured that there will be a new day, some warmth, some light and everything. Usha, for the Rishis, they have personified her into a beautiful young girl. So much so that one Rishi says, they describe her beauty. One Rishi says, she comes on the horizon like a dancer. She holds her cloth upwards and then she comes on the horizon as a stage. Another Rishi says, Usha is Savitru's mother because every day after Usha comes Savitru, right? So the mother first and Savitru later. But there is one poet, one Rishi, who is of a different attitude. He said, oh, it's not that way. You know, Usha is so beautiful that this Savitru will keep chasing her all her life. I like this also because it shows that they were open to enjoying life and at the same time understanding and interpreting life. So these are, I talked about Indra.
Yeah.
Indra is their Senapati. He is the one god with whom they talk in the sense, he's made out of bone and flesh like you and me. And his description is also different. He's tall. He is Hiranyakeshi. Hiranya is gold. And he's blonde, in other words. He has Sushipra. That is, he has a dimple on his chin. There is so much description, personal description about Indra. He is brave. He fights wars. And whenever Indra is there, they win. Okay? There are ballads written on it. We call it ballad because for all war heroes, and you know that hero worship leads to deification. So for all the things that Indra did, there are ballads. In every mantra there will be something which he did, and the end will be Sa Jana Sa Indraha. Jana Saha, O people, this is how our Indra is. Even today, though we don't have the idol of Indra in our house or anything of the sort, we still have the name Indra in almost 30% of the names of the boys. Like Virendra, Surendra, Dharmendra.
Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Oh yes, of course, I can't forget him. So all that, Indra stays there. Now this is a society. I talked about thieves. So there are always some people who are not exactly good to everyone all the time. They need some punishment. And for that, they created a god. Created in the sense abstract level. Of course, there must have been a human representative who was Varuna. And Varuna saw to it that nobody is mischievous. Nobody is doing anything wrong. And not only that, it is said that Varuna had spies. The word chara is in Rigveda, which means spies. So even the king must be having spies, right? And who are these spies? The stars.
Oh.
They help him find out. So just imagine, and that is one very wonderful sukta called Saramapadi Sukta. Sarama is the dog which gods owned. And they had to find the people who stole their cows. So they asked Sarama to do that. Forget about what happened later, but I said, oh, even in those days they had dog squads to find out such things. So you have to read in between the lines and find out all this. Like I said, people are young, people are old, people get disease or whatever, and you need medicine. And for that medicine, there were Vaidyas. We all know their names. We call them Ashwini Kumar. In Rigveda, they are not two different things. I mean, it is called Ashwino. They are twin gods. And why Ashwino? Ashwa is a horse. They always rode on horses wherever they wanted to go. And there are, you will not believe, there are again, suktas after suktas praising what Ashwinas cured and how they cured it. This is the beginning of our Ayurveda. Okay, I'll just give you one example. One mantra in Rigveda talks about Rudrogam Mama Surya Harimanam Chanashaya. Rudroga, everybody knows that, heart disease. And Harimana. Harimana is literally yellowishness, which means jaundice. Ashwinos not only did that, but they also rescued people who were stranded in sea. They rode for 9 days and 10 nights and then rescued that Bujju. So just imagine, they went everywhere. I don't call them medicine men alone. I think they were Vedic Red Cross. whenever they were needed, whenever somebody was in distress, they would run there and help that person. So Ashwino, there are so many of them that I don't know how much to talk about all the Devatas.
No, we can also, there is a comparison between Mitra Varun and ancient Persian deity
Mitra.
also. So
Mitra.
I also was very curious about the
Yeah.
sister civilizations.
Yeah, Mitra Varuna is a very common thing in Rig Veda. I mean, just like Ashwina, we have Mitra Varuna. They always go together.
But is he also similar to Ahura Mazda from ancient Persian?
Varuna.
Oh,
Yes.
Varun, yeah.
And Ahura is actually Asura.
I see.
And Asura for us, see, now that you mentioned Zarathustra and Zen Avesta, Avesta and Veda have many things common. They are siblings. Now, like all siblings, I have twins. But if one likes sweet, the other would like savory things. So there are many similarities, and in some ways they are polar.
Yeah.
There is polar difference.
Yeah.
So Ahura is Asura, and Asu is physical strength, and Ra is what we call Matvarthi, that is possessive termination. I'll give you a simple example. Madhu is honey. Add Ra to that,
Madhur.
Madhura. So similarly, Asura is a person who has a lot of physical strength, and they use that word in a very nice sense. They even have in Andhra, they say Indra instead. These are all, I would say, mirror images.
Yeah. Yes,
So
yes.
if he is good, we have Soma, they have Herb. So
And we worship Agni, they
we
worship
worship
Agni.
Agni,
Yeah.
and even today they worship Agni, and I would say even today, in spite of all the electricity and whatnot, we still, if we have a puja in the house, there will be a oil lamp, or a small ghee lamp, which is burning there all the time.
That's true.
So there are sister languages
In
and
fact,
sister cultures.
it is believed that Agni, the Rishi Atrey, he too Agni to Persia, ancient Persia. There are a lot of stories
Now that
connected
you
to that.
refer to Atri, I will tell you a very amazing story about Atri. See, in 1994, for the first time, I went to US to teach. And there, it was a solar eclipse. I didn't know. But somebody said, there is a documentary in the amphitheater. I went there. Let me tell you that I was the only colored person amongst all those maybe 2,000 people. And the first shot was a sun is rising on the horizon, and the first sentence of the narrator, which I will never forget, is he said, the first ever mention of a solar eclipse is found in some ancient Indian text called Rig Veda. And I started crying. I was crying because, oh my God, they know this. I was so proud. And I was also crying because how many of my fellows, my countrymen know this? Nobody. Nobody knows this. But Atri, when he wrote a Sukta Surya, in his Sukta, he says, Suvar Bhanur Vayasuraha Suryam Tamasa Vivyadha. You can understand. He shed his shadow on the Surya, on that disk. And he said, don't worry. The people got scared. So he said, don't worry. I know a mantra and I will take that away. He knew exactly when the solar eclipse would be gone. Our cosmology is great. And you are of course right that Atri, this is what they say.
Yeah.
But Agni Puja is always there.
Yes.
Always.
So, guys, this conversation, I think we should stop here today because there's so much wealth of knowledge.
Now you will realize why I say that the knowledge of Veda, it's Sanatana, and it is not only Anadi, but it is really Ananta.
Timeless.
There is no
Anadi,
end to it.
Ananta.
Anadi and Ananta, like Brahman.
Yes, like Brahman.
Like
And this
Brahman.
is something we are all also interested. The Upanishadic part, the philosophy of Nirgun Nirakar, and we'll touch upon that later. But I think thank you so much, Thai, for coming.
Pleasure.
And we'll continue with such episodes
Yes,
more.
indeed.
And,
yes, indeed. I'm glad that through your podcast, I can take this to everybody else
Yes,
and
yes.
younger generation.
True, and with Vedas particularly, we'll have some more.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll get into Upanishads. And
Sure.
because pinnacle of Sanatana is, of course, Advaita Vedanta, and it comes from Upanishads. So that is our ultimate goal.
Absolutely, no
Thank you
doubt
so much,
about that.
Sai.
Thank you.
And let's meet up again.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.